Okay, hello again, everyone who's joining us now. Welcome to this webinar where we have a student panel in service management. My name is Maria Lindblad. I work here at Lund University as an international marketing manager, and I will be the moderator and host of this webinar today. And the webinar is being recorded as well. So if you have any friends or other people you know who may be interested in watching this panel later on, but who are busy at the moment, you will be able to send them a link to the recording later as well. We will be sending that out after this webinar. So, or if you want to come back and watch it again later on as well. As you can see on the screen, we have a lot of lovely students with us today, and you're going to get to spend this hour with them. If you have any questions at all about what it's like being a student at service management here at Lund University, please write your questions in the Q&A, and we will address those during this hour together with you. And it's also possible to like or upvote questions. So if you see a question that you also have, you can go in and like one of the previous questions, and we will try to prioritize those. We are going to focus today on the student experience and talk about what it's like being a student at service management from different perspectives, both the academic perspective and in terms of student life in general, life in Sweden, and so on. So we will cover quite a broad range of topics, but we are going to focus on the student experience. So if you have other questions related to admissions or how to apply or scholarships or things like that, we will have a webinar later this week where we will talk more about the practical application steps and things like that. So those kind of questions you can ask in that webinar instead. Just an hour ago, we also had a webinar with the staff from the service management. So if you missed that, please, you can go back to our webpage where we present all of the webinars during these applicant weeks, and you can watch the recording of that webinar later on. It should be up by tomorrow or so. So you can go back to that if you want to get more of a staff perspective as well. Great, but without any further ado, it's time for us to jump in and introduce our panel. So I will call you out here the way I see you on my screen. So we'll start with Ming.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ming. I'm from China. So now I'm studying Lund for the master program, service management retail. And I did my bachelor in Shanghai. That was I studied in public management. So if you have some questions for China, why I'm coming from China, or for the retail, then you can ask me.
Perfect.
Welcome.
Thank you, Min. And Shasta.
Yeah, all right. Hello, everyone. I'm Shazba, as you can see on the screen. I'm a final year master student, second year master student in service management from supply chain management specialization. I'm originally from Bangladesh. I did my bachelor's and MBA both in Dhaka, Bangladesh. And after that, I just came here. So yeah, that's currently the status. We're working on our last two courses before we start our thesis. So it's almost the end. If you have questions regarding supply chain management and the practical and theoretical aspect of it and overall student life here, you can ask. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. And Lourdes.
Hello, everybody. I am a second year master student, also in service management. My specialization is culture and creativity. I come from Peru. My background is in law, but I have 7 years experience working in culture and creativity. And we are about to finish third semester to go into writing the thesis. And yeah, you can ask any question.
Great. And Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm from Austria, and I'm now studying in the tourism specialization, but I'm only in my first year. So I just moved here in August, and I did my bachelor's in international business administration. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Great. So we have some different perspectives here as well from new students and students who've been here a bit longer. And Daniel.
Yes. Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm 25. I'm originally from Germany. I'm also in my second year in sustainable service management. My bachelor's were in tourism, hospitality, and event management. Yeah, now I've been here since 1.5 years, shortly before my master thesis, and I'm happy to help out when it's about sustainability related questions or to the program.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This is going to be exciting. Let's start from the very beginning. I'm a bit curious to know, and I'm sure that some of you attending as well would like to know, how come you all ended up at Lund University? Why did you choose this program? How did you find the program, and what appealed to you? Why did you decide to join us here at Lund? Let's go the other way around. So we can start with Daniel this time. If you remember, it was a while ago now, I suppose.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. It was actually a while ago. Well, I wanted to broaden my perspective in terms of sustainability because it was one of my passions back then, and I didn't really know where to go with my bachelor's. So I needed some kind of purpose, and I thought that my passion, sustainability, is something that I could and should pursue. And Lund University, especially Swedish institutions or Sweden in general, when it comes to sustainability, is a very good place to be. So I was looking out for programs which were also fitting my previous background in service management, or like service studies in general. So that was the perfect fit. And yeah, I'm really happy still that I have chosen to apply.
Great. And Lisa, how did you end up here?
I guess pretty similar than like Daniel, because I also like the sustainable point of view of Sweden, or in general Lund University, but I focused on tourism, and actually sustainable tourism management isn't a huge thing yet in universities. I only found, I think, 3 programs in the EU who focused on that, and Lund just had a really good reputation, and also some of my friends did the Erasmus in this university and just spoke really highly of the university life as well. So yeah,
it's a good enough reason, I would say. Lourdes, what about you? How did you learn about Lund all the way from Peru?
I was looking to do my master's in Europe, and anything that had to do with culture and creativity, when I saw the courses, had to do sometimes with things not so concrete, like aesthetics. And I've already been working in culture, so I thought, yeah, aesthetics might be good for a very, very limited branch of jobs. And the program in service management, culture and creativity was a little bit more broad, more like a mix between cultural industries and management. And it seemed that you could actually execute projects with what you're being taught. That's why I chose it.
Interesting. And Shazba, what about you?
Well, similar like Lourdes, I also wanted to pursue my master's in Europe, but I was looking for a supply chain management course, which also is more inclined towards business administration and social studies, because my bachelor's and MBA were both in business administration, specializing in marketing. So there are like a lot of supply chain programs all over the world, globally recognized, but most of them are more engineering inclined, like for example, production engineering, industrial production, all those kinds of things. But one of these programs in service management program, which focus on supply chain also, I only found that in Lund University, because that was the best match for me, to be honest. And also like Lisa, there are like my seniors who all graduated from Lund before, and they spoke very well about it, so, and it has a high reputation. So that's how I ended up here.
Yeah. And we actually spoke about that also in the staff session earlier, just what you were saying, that many have the engineering perspective, and we have that logistics and supply chain also here at Lund in engineering, and some students get confused, which one should I apply to? And they're quite different, obviously, and have very different academic disciplines and perspectives. So yeah, that's good that you pointed that out as well. Min, what about you? How did you end up in Lund?
I think I'm a little bit different from others. because I choose this program because firstly, I'm interested in retail, and my parents have been running a curtain store for living. So I'm familiar with retail and I'm interested in it. But I need more new knowledge for our store. Yes, because it's a very traditional store, no other digital things or something. So, but by accident, when I was undergraduate, my best friend, have a chance to come to Sweden for exchange study. So she talked a lot about her life in Sweden. So I think maybe Sweden is also a good choice for me. So I searched more information about Sweden and the retail which I'm interested in. So I found a program that I can do a master here, and I can live in Sweden for 2 years. So I think that's very great for me. So I applied. Then fortunately, I got accepted to Lund.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so you had a very sort of practical intention there with your application. Yeah, so interesting. Well, as you all hopefully know who are joining us today, the service management is really one program, but with multiple specializations, as you can see here represented among our students. But I think that many of you might wonder, so how does this work? Daniel, could you perhaps give us a little bit of an overview of sort of the structure in terms of the program and the different specializations? So do you all sometimes take courses together, or do you just do like completely parallel programs, or what does it look like, the structure for service management?
Yeah, so the first part of the studies are definitely where all international specializations are together. So we have some basic courses in service management, theory of social sciences, and philosophy of social sciences. And after that, you go into your specializations and have different courses, which were, for me, very broad, but also very in-depth. So we had an organization course, which introduced us to all the sustainability areas, while the next one was assessment of environmental impact, where it was a little bit more practical to assess, obviously, as the name says, environmental impacts. And then we had two other courses in social sustainability, and now the last one in, I forgot the name. Sustainable consumption, yes. So that's how the program is structured in sustainable service management. And I really liked it a lot because it narrows it down the further you get.
Okay, so basically you start up with more classes together with a full program as a whole, and then you narrow it into more and more of your specializations, right? Yeah,
exactly.
What about, I think for those of you who are getting close to or have already started planning out your thesis, how does that work with regards to the specialization? Shaspa, I think you were saying you're getting pretty close to the thesis work, right? Have you narrowed that down yet in terms of what you're going to write and how you're going to work with that related to your specialization?
Yeah, I guess all the second year students, we're almost in the same phase right now. We're about to start our thesis and have registered for the thesis course, because in here we can write it both with partners or all solo. That's depends on the topic, I guess. But coming down to the specialization and thesis topic, there's this thing, like as Daniel said, like we have similar courses, so a student can take a topic overall about service management, or they can solely focus on their own specialization. For example, supply chain management here in Helsingborg campus, it's a bit different compared to the other specializations, in a sense that all of our potential supervisors are from the engineering side, because we have some specialized courses on supply chain management along with the service management courses. So we can also focus on supply chain related specifically supply chain related courses, or we can go for service management courses, like which also have a little bit touch of supply chain management. And also there is another option where you can team up with a student from another specialization to write your thesis This is very important, I would say, because in supply chain management, especially in Scandinavia, we focus more on sustainability. So pairing up with a student from sustainable service management makes a lot of sense, and a lot of our classmates are actually going for that. And same for retail, because supply chain retail is also part of supply chain. So there's like a close connection between those things. For tourism also, I mean, we can make combinations, and that's how it works here, I guess, for thesis programs, thesis course. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Does anyone else want to add something there related to the thesis, for those of you who have come further along as well? What your thought process was in terms of thesis and relating that to your specialization? Anything to add there?
Perhaps just one thing to emphasize it again, what Jasper just said. I think that's a very valuable part in this program, because as I outlined in the structure, first you have these courses together, so you also work within specialization and cross specializations, and especially those knowledge that Lund University is providing in our specializations is very deep down, I guess, at least in my program. So these exchanging of very sophisticated knowledge is a very valuable part also when it comes to the master thesis. And I think yeah, that's a big experience and a nice experience to work with someone who's an expert in that field, or is going to be an expert in that field as well.
Yeah, it's great. Backing up a little bit to the earlier classes and courses in the first and second year as well. What does we have a question here from one of our attendees. So what does the classes look like? Is it, what's this type of classes? Is it, group work? Is it lectures mainly? Is it seminars? And also, what are the exams like? Are they written essays or presentations or written exams? So can Lourdes, perhaps, can you elaborate a little bit on what the structure is when it comes to the classes and the exams?
Sure. I think it's a combination of what you said, Maria, because you have lectures, you have seminars, you have assignments that can be individual, but so far I think most of all of the courses I've taken have some component that it's like group work, or some of assignments are pass or fail, also with group work, written group work and presentations. And there's a high emphasis on research and on writing academically. I think it's most of it. You won't have that much lectures, because you have a lot of time to read and to produce written material, written assignments. So you need to rely a lot also in your classmates, and you get to know each other academically, so to speak, not only like to go out.
Yeah, exactly. Lisa, I know you're a first-year student, right? The question was actually from somebody who is, I think, applying to the tourism specialization. So I wanted to give you a chance there as well. And since you're in the first year, of course, you haven't seen all of the courses yet, but so far, what is your experience in terms of the class structure and the assignments and so on, if you can share a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as Lourdes said, we have structures from the whole range. So from small seminars where we only are with tourism people, but also bigger seminars where we group with, for example, culture and creativity. We have huge lectures with all the service management specializations. So you really get used to different kinds of works and assignments and presentations, and also how Lund University works. So in terms of exams, we had 2 essay exams. So in the first course, we had to write a huge literature review about what we had to read. In the second exam, which was the tourist specific course, we had an open essay question where we could elaborate on some contemporary topics that we discussed in lectures and seminars. Now we have an oral exam, so you really get challenged in many different ways, but I think that's what makes the program special or unique, because you also, if you're not that good in, for example, multiple choice questions, you don't fail, because you get tested in so many different ways. And in the class structures, I'd say it also what Lourdes said, you you get to know many different perspectives and ways how to do assignments, because you work with so many different cultures and people together, also different backgrounds who come with different academic knowledge. So this makes the program really amazing, because you are challenged in so many ways.
That's great. Thank you for that perspective, Lisa. And we actually have a follow-up question. I'm going to ask you, Min. Here's somebody asking specifically about this. They're asking here, what is the student relationship like? Like, how do students from different countries and different backgrounds and all these different specializations as well, how do you relate to one another? It's a very general question, but perhaps you can elaborate, because I know the program is very international.
Lund, just like our specialization, it's a very international specialization of people from different backgrounds, different countries. But the same thing is that we speak English, that you can talk to different people from different country. That it's a good place to you make a friend in the class, in your classroom, or in our seminar, that because you have the chance to talk to them. And if you are outgoing people, then you can maybe attend some nation or other parties or something, that you can make more friends. They are from different countries, then you can make your networking or other connection with them. And if you are not very outgoing people, maybe you can just because we have lots of group project, and you need to do the assignments with other people, so you have the chance to communicate with them. Then you can find some maybe the same points between the people, then you can make a good friend. Just like me, I'm not actually a very outgoing person, so but I also have a good friend in our class, and she's Swedish. We met in group work, so then we know each other, then we become very good friends. So it's okay, so don't be worried about you don't have the connection with the other people. So
great. Yeah, that's interesting to hear. And I think it's similar for many students who are, they are not maybe used to mingling in that way, or meeting people from all over the world in the way that you do here. And I think it's already very clear that the program is extremely international. We see that just from the mix of students we have with us here today. What about the relationship with the teachers? What do you say, Daniel? How is the relationship with the teachers?
I think it's very special and not really comparable to other places or universities. While I was studying in Germany in my bachelor's, it was a very hierarchical order between the professor and students. While here it's more on the same level, so we can talk to our professors and teachers in a way that you would talk to a peer as well. So they're really open about your opinion. They're really open about what constitutes your opinion or your knowledge. So I guess that was kind of one thing that surprised me, and also which I still value a lot, because that opens up for more broad discussions, and that's very insightful and valuable, I think.
Interesting. What about you, Shasba? What did you experience in terms of the relationship with the teachers compared to when you studied your bachelor's?
Very different in a good way, to be honest, because where I studied my bachelor's and MBA, both places we used to address our teachers by either sir or ma'am, which I'm still like quite used to addressing people by sir or ma'am, but it's fine. The thing is, like, the teachers here are like very helpful and very friendly, I would say, because I remember when I was a first year student, I had a specific problem. It's not a problem, but I needed some guidance regarding a research work with one of my teachers, and I mailed her that if it's possible, she can give me some suggestion, whether she actually suggested to meet in a Mind Park here in Helsingborg, which is like a teacher-student mingling place. It's a coffee shop, like I think over a fika or coffee. So that was very thoughtful and very helpful for us. So like I didn't expect it from her that she would actually approach me with coffee and suggestions. But that's the thing. Like it's very friendly. The teachers are very friendly, and they like they're always there to help you in any situation.
Great, thank you. We are, as the panel may know, for sure the attendees know, we are in the middle of the application period, which means that we have people joining us today who are right now applying and hoping to join us in fall 2023. And we actually have a question here. This one is for you, Daniel, and it's an applicant who is applying to your specialization, I assume, and they are wondering if you can give them some tips here, because they're sitting right now working on their statement of purpose. And as you all prepared yours, even if it was some time ago now, if you have any specific tips or thoughts for them. And specifically, this person is asking, in the second part of the statement of purpose, they're asking, how can I contribute to the program, and how can I access the learning and be successful in the program? Of course, this is a very individual answer, and it's supposed to be, but do you have any sort of tips or ideas there to share what made your application successful when you first joined?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what exactly made it successful, because I was just accepted. But on this particular matter, I was just honest with what my goal is in the long term. So I was writing that I wanted to contribute to a sustainable future in that sense, to somehow use my knowledge that I already have to bring it into the group, which are international people from everywhere, and thus also with a different perspective on sustainability. And yeah, I think the goal orientation is one thing which is good to write there, because you want to contribute in a sense of, yeah, reshaping consumption, or yeah, whatever is your passion about sustainability.
Yeah, very good point. Thank you. Another question regarding the classes and the actual study environment. We have a question here from a student who's asking what the schedule looks like, if it feels very stressful, or if there's enough time to sort of work with essays or work with other things, or how tight the schedule is. So if you could give us an idea of sort of a standard week on the program. Lourdes, can you help us out with this?
I think it changed a lot depending on the course, but you will definitely have time to read. Sometimes you have like one lecture in the whole week, because they know you have a lot to read. It's an extensive course literature that you have, and the professors are aware that it's good. But you will also have highly likely seminars to discuss these topics. You need to arrive having you need to read beforehand, because you need to discuss with your classmates. I would say that if there's a lot to write, but you have time to do it. You can organize yourself.
Yeah, so it's not that you are in class every day all the time, but it is sort of calculated that you also need to spend this time doing group assignments or preparing for class and reading. Yeah, great. Another question that is directly for you, Lourdes, because this is somebody applying also to culture and creativity, I'm assuming. And they're asking here that since you had work experience in the field before you joined, how much do your studies add to that? And do you feel that you're getting more confident professionally?
I think I do, because my background is in law, and I always say I never liked it. And then I started working in culture that I really liked. And there are some things that I've done in culture that I didn't really knew to which theories or which frameworks of management they belong to. I just learned on the way. But now with the theoretical background, it makes more sense. And I think I've thought about this, especially in this last course. Like if I would have known that beforehand, I would have executed better. So yes, I think it will help a lot, definitely. And we have seen 2 courses at least that have like part of the assignments is a case study where you apply the theory to an actual case that an NGO or a cultural center is doing here in Sweden. So you can also present to them your report, not only to the professor, but to the people that are manage the organization. And I think that it's very valuable experience.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry about that. Excuse me. But now that we are talking a little bit about practical experience, I want to get into that a little bit more. In terms of during your studies, are there any opportunities for you to get any sort of practical experience? Do you have any, for example, guest lectures, or any of you planning on doing projects for your thesis together with a company, or opportunities maybe outside of the studies to do an internship or anything like that? We get a lot of questions about this, so I just wanted to see if any of you have any experience in that field, and if you have any practical aspects. Min, I know you were saying also that you came from the retail background before. Is it something you've been able to sort of stay connected to during your studies as well?
Actually, I haven't started to do internship here, but in our class, we have in our course we have some guest lecture, and we have visit just like IKEA to visit there and meet the staff there. Then they introduce something about IKEA to us. Then I think use this chance, you can make a networking to them. Then our school, Lund University, they provide many lectures to us. Then you can go there and meet different people. Then you can have the chance, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else? Shaspa, do you have any practical experience that you've been able to practice during these years?
We are currently right now, one of our courses are digitalization in e-commerce and overall supply chain. So we have 4 different guest lectures from the Helsingborg City Municipality, different big startups, potential startups, and also big companies from Sweden. For example, there was Naked, there was IKEA, there was other big companies, H&M also. So what happened, PostNord also. So what happened is that like those guest lecturers come up with case studies and the actual scenarios, and we have to write about. And right now they're actually proposing some thesis ideas for us, like if we can come up with some potential solutions and potential thesis proposal, we can actually approach them with those things. So this is actually a very big opportunities for us, for the students actually. And apart from that, we have also worked with case studies on different big companies such as Tetra Pak. We did that in the last course, and it was not only theoretical, it was very practical in a sense that the lectures were held by both the assigned lecturer and a lecturer from the Tetra Pak, the company itself. So opportunities are there, like plenty of opportunities are there from the Helsingborg City Municipality and other big company, multinational companies here. You can go up to them, apply for internships, and also submit your thesis proposal. If you're granted, then it's a big thing. So yeah, opportunities are there.
Oh, thank you, Shaspa. That was some great insights there and tips for our incoming students. We actually got a few very specific questions related to this. One is for you, Lisa. I know that you are a first-year student, but hopefully you can help us anyway here. And this is somebody who is applying to the tourism specialization, and they're asking if there are any practical studies besides the classes, if you are aware of any, I think.
We haven't had any yet, but in the first tourism course, we had some study excursions to Copenhagen, Lund, and Malmö, which were really cool because there we got really the experience why the city developed a certain way, or why certain tourist attractions developed a certain way. So that were like the first practical insights. And also we had, I think, in the whole course, 5 or 6 guest lecturers who just gave us insights on what contemporary challenges in certain fields of tourism are right now. And I know that in the next semester, we're going to have a course on destination development and marketing, which I'm sure we're also going to have some practical insights. So I'd say that although it is a really theory-based master, or I only had theory-based lectures yet, that it's gonna get more practical by the lecturers we're gonna have, because they give us the insights that they experience or on what they work on right now. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. And we have also a related question to Lourdes. Within the culture and creativity specialization, what opportunities would we have to study and practice service specific to nonprofits?
There is actually many, because all of our case studies have had to do with NGOs. Actually, there are cultural centers that are NGOs as well, and they're committed to sustainability and to culture. And we did one report about it, and now there's another NGO that is also trying to develop the cultural dimension of the United Nations Development Goals. So it's very interesting to put like sustainability, environmental sustainability, culture in the same topic and apply it. I think there are many opportunities and also many institutions for you to apply, or you to try to do your thesis with them.
Yeah, great. And we've talked now some time here about practical experiences and insights from the world outside of the program. But what about after? We have a question here about career opportunities. So it'd be interesting to hear a little bit what you all have thought about in terms of what you want to do and also opportunities that you've seen. And we've also received a specific question for Daniel. What are the career opportunities after the Sustainable Service Management Program? So we can start with you then, Daniel, since it was for you.
Yeah, sure. I think this is a really, really big benefit, because studying this program combines both the sustainability perspective, but also the business perspective. So combined both. And there's a very, very big need in the market right now, especially with the new directive coming on next year, that says that all companies in the European Union need to hand in a sustainability reporting according to some standards. So there's a very big market in the reporting sector. But also, depending on your background, you could go to consultancies in terms of sustainability consulting, which is also a big need. And the third one might be NGOs and more social organizations. They're also striving for some alumni from universities who have successfully graduated. So for me, sustainability related, there's very, very much out there which you can do.
Yeah, and we can really say, as you said in the beginning, Daniel, that here in Sweden and Scandinavia and Europe as a whole, there's a strong focus on sustainability in general. So those of you attending, if you're not from Europe, you might not necessarily see the same movement, but here it is very, very strong and a high priority in all organizations. So like you said, Daniel, there's certainly just going to be more and more to do in this field rather than less. So a lot of promising opportunities there. What about retail, Min? What kind of job opportunities would you say that you have after finishing the retail program?
Yes, in our program, and because it's about retail, so it's how to relate it to the market. So in the market, there are lots of jobs that you can take, because it's about maybe your main job is towards to a customer. So I think all the job that you towards to the customer, you can find that will fit your needs. But as for me, I just like to do something that just in the store, to manage a home store and to sell more things. That's what I want to do. But it's also depend on what you like and what's your best background. So it's so broad. I think retail is a really broad thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of opportunities for sure. And what about the other specializations? I really want to ask all of you, because I know that this is one of the top questions that students have. What do other students go ahead and do? And what have your graduates done and the alumni? And I'm sure you all had this question before you came too. So Shaspa, what do you say? What kind of opportunities do you see after supply chain management?
Plenty of opportunities are there. Like from every small company to a big company, supply chain is always there. Like cannot just like, it's like having accounting and finance in a company. Supply chain has to be there. Procurement, supply chain. It's like supply chain is a broad area to study. So there are like manufacturing, production, logistics, retailing, last mile delivery. There are like plenty of options out there. And the good thing is, if someone wants to build their career in Sweden, there are plenty of multinational companies here. So that's also a big plus point. And for fresh graduates who don't have any like previous working experience, like me, I don't have any previous working experience. I just have some previous student works and job experience and internships. So for us, like there are a lot of graduate trainee programs opened in different companies also. So they don't need any kind of previous work experience. If you just graduate and you apply, if you go through the process, you're hired. So a lot of opportunities are there from supply chain, I would say. Yeah.
Great. What about you, Lisa? What are you thinking for your future career when you studied tourism?
I mean, same as the other four, I guess you have huge opportunities in every sector, especially now after COVID. I feel like sustainable tourism is gonna be an even bigger thing, because just COVID showed how important tourism is for all countries over the world, and that sustainable tourism also is possible. So I guess many people after my specialization, and I'm gonna do that as well, are gonna go into consulting or market research and promoting sustainable markets or sustainable tourism. But there are also opportunities in hotel management, or in general management of, I don't know, tour agencies, all operators in tourism. I guess many people are going to go into research generally, because there is a huge research gap on how to even accomplish sustainable tourism. So there's, I guess, a job opportunity for every single interest. And I think that's also why Lund University is such a pioneer in sustainable tourism management, because Sweden is, I guess, in the moment, the leading country in promoting sustainable tourism. So that's what you also get from this education. And so, yeah, I guess an interest in every sector.
Yeah, for sure. Lourdes, finally, culture and creativity.
I can tell for the experiences of my colleagues, because I haven't been looking for internships right now, but my colleagues have been working in the creative sector, that can be also in a broader scope is related to entrepreneurship. So some of them are working like in digitalization and entrepreneurship, or in product development or research to product or service development, precisely because the program allows it to give you tools and develop skills in management and also in culture and creativity industries. So it's not only about NGOs or cultural centers or museums, but it's also about like gaming industry, that it's big here in Sweden, especially in Skåne, and the areas that I've already said.
Great. Thank you so much. That's some great insights from all of you there regarding the opportunities, because we know that many students are worried about this or thinking about that, of course, before they invest in a master's. I want to shift gears a little bit, because we've talked a lot now about the academics, but we have to get into student life, of course, a bit more as well, especially also perhaps because Lund University is quite famous for its student life. So how have you, taken on a student life at Lund University, and have you joined any of the nations and organizations and associations and whatnot to get the social aspect of being a student here as well? Let's start with you, Min. What's it been like for you?
For me, I think my student life in because in the first years, because the academic, I didn't attend any activities that gathered many people. But this year, just like me, I'm here for the student ambassador. Then I think it's a very great chance for me that to attend big parties that we met offline. Then plan to some activities next month. Then I think I've been in the group that just I make more connections with others. That's I think great things for me. And in previous month, I just like go for a walk with my friends. I haven't attended any parties or something, but now I feel better.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Daniel, what about you? And we also have a question here related to student life, specifically at Helsingborg campus, because not everybody knows this perhaps of the attendees, but service management is taught at the Lund University campus in Helsingborg, not in the city of Lund, because Lund has 3 campuses. We have Malmö, Helsingborg, and Lund, and this program is taught at Helsingborg. So somebody's asking here, how is the student life organized in Helsingborg, and do you feel a little bit left out compared to the Lund campus? What do you say, Daniel, about that?
Yeah, I think compared to Lund, it's a big difference, Helsingborg. However, we do have our organizations who are invested in student life and also extracurricular activities. We have Agora, which is hosting the introduction week, but also several balls like spring balls or millennial balls. We have Stampus as well, and they're kind of the ones to go to when it's about the fun parts. So Thursday pubs, also other sittings where you can go. I like it a lot because everything is quite close. We have one big student building, which is also used to offer study places where basically everything happens. So you don't need to find out new places. You already know what's happening and where. And as soon as you get involved there, you also make new friends in terms of Swedish people who are studying their bachelors, for example, and also the organization behind it. So student life is definitely thriving, but you need to do something to also get involved. So it's not like just thrown at you like it might be in Lund. You also need to put some effort in to participate.
Yeah, takes a little bit more activity perhaps to join. Thank you. Shaspa, we also have a question here. With all the classes and group works and seminars and presentations, do students have time for social life? What do you
Absolutely, yes. I guess I'll just give an example. Like I'm later after this webinar, I'm going to watch the semi-final of the FIFA World Cup with my friends. Till though we have a submission 2 days later. I mean, but the thing is, like, the courses are structured in a way that they focus also on student social life. You'll see that we had some assignments and the teachers really focused on to finish it on Friday so that the students get weekends off and they can like a little bit chill down and hang around with other friends, go to the clubs and stuff. So that's the thing, like social life is it's there are plenty of time to be social with your friends and other colleagues here. Right. Aside the studies.
Yeah. What do you say, Lisa, as a new student? Have you had time to get into the student life and all the different clubs and so on?
Yeah, I'd say so. So although there's a lot of work to do, I agree with Jasper that the university focuses on the fact that students also have a life outside of university, and they always highlight the fact that it's only a 40-hour work week, or should only be a 40-hour work week, and therefore their deadlines at 5 p.m. and not at midnight. So they even prevent students from working all night. And up until now, I had a lot of opportunities to get into student life. And I'm also living in Helsingborg. So although I'm not into Lund nations, I also never had the fear of missing out or had the need of going to Lund in order to have fun or to have a student life, because as Daniel also said, we have Agora and Stampus, and in the introduction week they focused a lot on connecting us international students, which helped a lot. So we have a really nice network here in Helsingborg, which makes it also nice to have this balance with university. So
Yeah. That's great. And yeah, and just so for our attendees to know, it's not like an outcast campus somewhere. It's actually thousands of students studying in Helsingborg, and it's not just one program. It is a proper campus and a lot of activities happening there as well. So you don't need to be in Lund, the city of Lund specifically, to enjoy the student life. What about for you, Lourdes? What's your experience of student life?
I really like it here in Helsingborg. Actually, I had to go. I remember thinking I've never had a chance to study in Lund, and once I had to go for a guest lecture or something, and I realized that there was no place for reading. It was impossible to find a place for reading. And I remember thinking this would never happen in Helsingborg. It's so good for not only the campus that you can get in after hours, like you need the card and that's it, but city library. I really like city library. It's just so pretty, especially in the winter, because it feels alive and it's open until 7 p.m. And you can, you will go anywhere walking distance, which is like Daniel said. For example, if you live in one of the student housing that is in Furutorpsgatan, if there's a party, probably it's like a block away from you. Or if you need something and your classmates live there, it's again a block away from you if you need help or anything. So that feels very nice that there's many places to study, but there are also many places to party. And and I remember one of the things that I realized, because it starts feeling very small. I remember, which is nice because I come from a 10 million people city. I don't want to go through it again. But I remember I used to go to study Swedish. And after that, a friend invited me to Stampus party. And it was like, again, like 2 blocks away. And I was like, what? And she lived like a block away. So it works. It's very nice if you want to prioritize not commuting inside the city and partying and studying. But it's up to you which vibe you want.
Yeah, it's really a benefit of a small town. You can walk or bike everywhere. You don't need to spend time commuting. Several of you have mentioned housing already, so I want to get into that these last few minutes we have. And we have a question also, what it's like in terms of accommodation and what options there are and kind of the cost, just to get a slight idea. So if we could just go around here, and if you can share where you live and the rough rent that you pay, just so that they can get some ideas. Let's start with you, Min. Where are you living and what's your rent?
Now I'm in Helsingborg, that building called Bryggargatan. I think it's a street, this area, that I rent this apartment from the Helsingborg Kim, and that's a company that you can rent many apartments only for students. So that will be more safe for you. But in the first year, I think I'm living in the I rented a house from Lund Accommodation. That's a Lund official website that you can apply your apartment. That's very convenient for the first years. But if you want change, you can change to other apartment. Then I think that's really great for the students, because students have limited the expense. So you can find many support from the Lund University and other company. I think it's easy, and I think in this part it's easier to find the apartment in Helsingborg than Lund, because I heard Lund is the apartment is really busy, that you can't apply a suitable apartment for you. So I think that is the advantage in Helsingborg.
Yeah, great. Shaspa, what about you? Where are you living?
I live in Ostra Valgatan. It's a student accommodation, big building, lots of rents. That's another parts of having a lot of students here. So social life is very active. A lot of parties here in Ostra. Daniel would agree. And yeah, Exactly, and the rent varies based on your the room size. To be honest, my room is very small, but it varies from 3,500 to 4,500 krona per month. But if you have a bigger room, then the rent may rise up a bit.
Yeah.
But roughly the rent is around 3,500 to 4,500 ish.
But that's great to know for incoming students. Lisa, what about you?
So I actually found my place on Facebook Marketplace because I moved in with a good friend of mine who also got accepted here in Lund, and we wanted to find a shared apartment, which is a little bit tricky because on the official websites you need the Swedish personal ID, which we didn't have until we actually started studying in Lund. But Facebook Marketplace was actually a really good place, but you need to be careful about scams or stuff like that. So just as a hint, and I pay, or together we pay around 9,000 kronas, and it's a 2-bedroom apartment, which is, I guess, a really great deal.
Yeah.
And we live, it's called Viskgatan. That's actually just 10 minutes from the main student building, which is really nice. So, and we have a park next to our apartment. So, but generally I feel like in Helsingborg you can't live in the wrong area because it's such a small city, and if you don't have a bike, the bus connections are really good as well. So yeah.
So you can get around no matter where you live, really. Yeah.
Exactly.
Lourdes, what about you? How did you find housing and where are you living?
I actually I'm not EU citizen, and I first got a room in Östra Fallgatan where Chaspa is. But back then it was COVID times, and a friend that studied in Stockholm suggested maybe you look for a private accommodation that can be bigger. And I found a room. This room, it's in a big house, like 25 minutes away from campus, walking distance, and it's shared with 5 other girls. It's pretty good. I really like this house. I was really lucky not to get scammed. The tips would be like this. I sent them my LinkedIn. They also sent me pictures and private information of the owners, telling me also they didn't ask for money ahead, but they were like, you need to stay a week and then you tell us, otherwise you only pay that week. They even gave me that chance back then. I pay around 4,500 kronas. That it used to be a little less, but electricity prices went up, so now that is the price.
Yeah.
And I really like the neighborhood, and I'm really near campus, even if it's like 20 minutes away walking distance.
For you, that's close, right?
Yeah, for me it's very close.
Coming from a bigger city, I mean, yeah. What about you, Daniel?
Kind of the same like Lisa, but I went through the official LU pages to find the housing agencies which are active here in Helsingborg. I think there are 2 major ones, which is Helsingborgshem and K Fastigheter. I was texting them in advance and asking them about the available apartments. And although I'm not living in a student apartment, it's a student rate which applies. And also it's very close to campus, like 3 or 4 minutes to walk, and also close to the student building and 2 other student houses. And I'm having a 29 square meter apartment with my own kitchen and own bathroom, and paying around 6,000 Swedish krona with internet and everything. It's not that little, but yeah, I think it suits the needs that I might have.
Yeah.
So I think that's also one thing to consider if you apply for a student house or private apartment.
Yeah, exactly. And we should tell the attendees here as well that there are different options. It's not like everybody lives in the university accommodation, as you can hear here. And we don't actually have housing for all students. So students are also, in a position where they need to find other options, because the university housing is mainly reserved for non-EU students and exchange students and so on. And then other students coming in often need to find their own housing. So we have many different options: your own apartment, sharing with friends, corridor rooms, and so on. So you'd have to look into that a little bit once you know if you are accepted and what city you're going to. We're out of time. We have actually one final question here in the Q&A, and that is about Swedish classes. Has anyone in the panel taken Swedish classes? Shaspa, you're nodding. There is a question. Are there free Swedish language classes in Helsingborg? Maybe you can help us with that one.
Yes, there are. You have to apply for it, and then they take a test, a preliminary test to test your language, like what level of English language or what's your mother tongue, like all those things. It's a very straightforward test. And after passing that test, they'll assign you to a certain level of Swedish classes, for example, C or D, something like that. And then you can actually, it's very flexible. You can agree with the routine based on your scheduled classes, like your university classes. And yeah, you can go for 2 days classes a week, 3 days classes a week, or like a very crash course ones, which are like very intense. So it depends on your available time and your pressure from the university. But yes, there are free courses on Swedish language. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Well, I hope that all of our attendees got a lot of insight. I certainly got a lot of insight to student life as studying service management, both the academic perspective and student life and housing. So I hope that it was helpful for you all. And I want to thank all of our panelists so much for joining us today as well. And as I mentioned at the beginning there, this webinar has been recorded, so we will have the link up by tomorrow or so if you want to check back or if you missed parts of it. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a nice rest of the day or evening, depending on the time zone. Thank you so much.